All right. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests from all over the world, we like to say. It is my joy and my delight to welcome each and every one of you to our Masters of Evaluation Toastmasters Club meeting today, Friday, May the 5th. I'm Muriel Shabazz, and I serve as Sergeant at Arms for our distinguished Toastmasters Club. Here at Masters of Evaluation, we meet the first and the third Fridays of each month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Our club prides itself not only on being distinguished, we also take very, very seriously providing a safe and secure meeting for all of our members and all of our guests. And to that end, we want each one of you to know that a high level of trust, honor, and respect for each one in attendance is not only encouraged, it's required. Master of Evaluation Club members are focused on perfecting speaking, leadership, and evaluation skills, not necessarily which eliminates any room for personal offenses. I'm almost done. As Sergeant at Arms, it is also my role to share a few housekeeping rules that will provide us with a smooth flow of the exciting meeting we have planned for you today. We ask that you please silence your phones and ask you to turn on your video camera. If you are moving about, eating or drinking, we ask that you then turn off your video. And once you have finished moving about or eating or drinking, just remember, turn back your video. Turn your video camera back on. Finally, if you are serving in a speaking or functionary role, will you please take time now to rename yourself so we may identify what role you are serving in. The recording has started. It is now my pleasure to bring to our virtual stage the dynamic, always poised President of Masters of Evaluation, Dave Ryan. The virtual stage is yours.
Wow. Thank you, Muriel. Welcome, everyone, to a fantastic Friday for Toastmasters of Evaluation. Really looking forward to this meeting this afternoon, my second Toastmasters meeting of the day. Our mission, as always, I'd like to remind you, is to equip our members to give effective evaluations that enhance our speakers' impact on the world. So you just keep that in mind. I'm sure our general evaluator, Sandra Savage, will remind us of that later on as she gives an outline of her role and how we're going to approach the evaluations portion of the meeting again this meeting. Before I hand over to our Toastmaster of the day, a couple of short announcements. First, congratulations, Ray, on winning the Division A evaluation contest. Fantastic. Well done. I know representing your home club there, but yeah, we're all delighted for you and well done. Second announcement. So maybe everyone on mute for a minute, and let's let Ray hear the applause. Well, come on.
Yay! He's the best.
Well done, Ray. Nextly, welcome to Elisa, who's joining us today from Texas, I believe. Very welcome, Elisa, and thanks for joining our meeting, and really looking forward to hearing your evaluation of Vicky's speech later today. And last but not least, and it works out nicely that I'm handing over here, I'd like to welcome Jack, our newest member. So Jack Kaminsky is just joined our club, and way to step up and into a role will be our Toastmaster of the day. Which of the two introductions, Jack, should I go with?
I kind of like the second one better.
Yeah, me too, actually. Okay, so let's go with that. Jack Kaminsky comes from Mars and has been living on Earth for some 130 years. He enjoys sandy beaches that remind him of home and plans to return sometime soon in the near future. Hopefully not too near, because we enjoy your contributions to the meetings, and I'm not sure that you can get Zoom from Mars, but that was my own interjection. You'll be unhappy to know that Wells was wrong and that Earth microbes have not caused him any severe illnesses yet. Jack is going to be our Toastmaster of the day. And so with that, I'd like to hand over and welcome Jack to Master of Evaluation and to the stage. Over to you, Jack.
Wow. Thank you, President David Ryan of Masters of Evaluation. I am so glad to finally become a member of
Yay!
this club. Took me long enough. And it is my pleasure to serve as the Toastmaster of the day today. I just briefly want to go over the agenda. Toastmasters meeting is divided into 3 parts. Usually the first is the prepared speech session. The second one is table topics. And the last is the evaluation or feedback session. I would now like to call on the role players to introduce themselves and to tell us about their functions. The first person is the Zoom master, Muriel Shabazz. Let's welcome Muriel.
Okay. My role is very minimal, very limited. I'm just here to assist with the spotlighting of our speakers and also to admit guests and members and to just carry on the few duties of a Zoom master, which is basically to help run that electronical, technological part of our meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Muriel. Our next person is the distinguished General Evaluator, Sandra Savage. Sandra.
Thank you, Jack. I'm going to be focusing on the people who run the meeting and most importantly on the evaluators. Evaluations are so crucial to getting better as a speaker. And it's important to have sincerity and to give us suggestions. And we all come with a different point of view. And isn't that great? I mean, we've got 12 different points of view in this room today. So if it may resonate with someone, it may not with someone else. Why? So that's what we're going to be looking into with our evaluations. Now, we did a special thing a couple weeks back where we had an evaluation and speech-a-thon. And today I'm going to take a little tiny piece of that speech-a-thon in what we learned in evaluations. And I want you evaluators to write these 3 things down and to have a stopwatch handy. The most important thing with an evaluation is for you to look at how soon did the speaker get your attention, or did you just stay asleep? So I want you to write down, how did they get my attention? And report back to us in your evaluation how they did that. Second, what did they do to make a connection with you personally? And be able to tell people when you give your evaluation, I felt like she was talking right to me because blah. And the last thing is, did they keep your attention? So it's a sandwich method, but it's a new one. It's attention, connection, and keeping your attention. I'll also be looking at our other people who are going to be making sure that our meeting runs smoothly. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jack to run that, to introduce each of those. Or do you want me to introduce them, Jack?
I will continue to introduce them. Thank you so much, Sandra. Do we have our word of the day grammarian here? Mary Prayer? I guess not.
I don't see her, Jack. I've been looking as well.
Okay. Would someone like to come up with the word of the day, please? Would someone like to fill that role?
Well, Jack, that would be easy for me to take on. And I'm going to use one of my word of the day, and that is connection.
Connection. Great.
I'll put the definition in the chat in just a moment.
Very good. The word of the day is connection. Could you tell me what the counter and grammarian does?
Okay. Oh, I guess I'm all of them. All right. I'm going to be looking for your gems and germs. I don't want to hear any germs. I'm looking for those words that are just so beautiful that they shine in the sunshine. They make you smile. They're things that help you remember things. So I'm going to be looking for your really sexy words. But I'm also going to be looking for things that distract me from listening to your message. Your ums, your ahs, your clutch words, your like, or so, just, but, anything you use to fill. And just a tool that I learned is if you think you're going to trip up on one of those words, pause. Just pause for a second, recollect your thoughts, and you know what everybody thinks you're doing is you're being really smart, and you're going to come up with something next, so you can't wait to hear it. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you so much for taking on all these roles. I feel very connected with you, and today we also have the timer. The timer is Jesper Manquindang. Jesper, would you like to tell us about timing, please?
Thank you, Toastmaster Jack. Good morning and good evening for some of us. I will be your timer today. We have a great lineup of prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. For prepared speeches, 5 to 7 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will see my green background. At the 6-minute mark, you will see my yellow background. At the 7-minute, you will see the red background, and you will have 30 seconds to complete any closing remarks. For table topics, it will be 1 to 2 minutes, green at the 1-minute mark, yellow at the 1.5-minute mark, and red at the 2-minute mark, and you will have 30 seconds to complete any closing remarks. And for the evaluators, 2 to 3 minutes, 1 minute will be the green background, 2.5 minutes will be the yellow background, and 3 minutes will be the red background, and you will have 30 seconds to complete any closing statements. And more importantly, I will have my hand up, so you will see me at the corner, and I will turn it back to you, Toastmaster Jack. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesper. Before we start with the prepared speeches, I want everyone to unmute themselves. Could you please do that now? I see you're all unmuted, and I want you all to say the word of the day, which is connection.
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 I couldn't hear you all. Could you please just say it one more time?
Connection.
Great. I want to thank you all for using the word of the day. And if you are speaking again later on in the program, I would like you to use it over and over and over again. Connect with me. Connect with everyone. Today's theme is Cinco de Mayo. And as you may know, Cinco de Mayo commemorates a single battle at Puebla on May 5th, 1862. Benito Juarez rounded up a ragtag force of some 2,000 men who faced off against 6,000 French troops. And at the end of the day, 500 French fighters were killed versus less than 100 Mexicans. It was a symbolic victory for the Mexican government, and it reminds us that we should always stand up for justice. The day is a minor holiday in Mexico, but is enjoyed here in the United States as a celebration of Mexican culture. Vincent Nere is our first speaker, and Karina Hakas is the evaluator of the speech. I would like to call on Karina to read the objectives of Vincent's speech. Karina.
Good afternoon or good morning, some of you. I will be evaluating Vincent's speech, and his objective today is to connect with unfamiliar audience. I think he will connect because he normally have a good connection with anybody. He likes to speak, and you are not an unfamiliar audience, but try to be unfamiliar to him. Vincent Nere, his speech, I don't know the name. He didn't give me the name of his speech.
Vincent's presentation.
Maybe it's in the agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
It's in the agenda.
Vincent's
Vincent's Vincent's secret vocation. Okay. Vincent's secret vocation. I don't know what's secret vocation had Vincent. He will tell us. Please, Vincent Nere, with your secret vocation. Secret vocation, Vincent Nere.
Some of you might have seen me traveling on my motorcycle to La Chiesa de Santa Maria della Pietà in Palermo to my morning session in church. My black cassocks would be flying like a flag. I hardly ever stopped at traffic lights because you don't really do that in Palermo in Italy. And because you can't park a car in the Piazza della Pietà, I would usually use a motorcycle or a moped. Often, I would see dead bodies on my way to work. Not an agreeable sight, particularly if you have families standing around them with children crying because these family members had been shot because they had promised with the mafia. Being a parish church priest, I obviously had to have confessions and heard confessions, and that allowed me to connect to the mafia and those ringleaders, if you want to, who somehow manage affairs. And they all are in dire straits. They have predicaments and problems because a lot of people try to defraud the mafia. They're trying not to pay for their drugs. They don't repay their loans. You have it. Now, the only answer the Palermo mafia really has is to get some sicario from some other city in Italy, or perhaps from overseas, from Latin America, to gun these people down. And that usually happens in bright daylight, in front of their families, in front of their children, in front of me as the motorist. That, fellow Toastmasters, is not a lovely sight. Now, I not only studied theology in Rome, but I also studied economics. And I lived with two Bibles. There was the classical Christian Bible, and there was Peter Drucker's Search of Excellence, which was also published in the 1980s. And that was the key to success in business. And I tried to connect those two worlds, theology and money. And where would you find a better place than Italy, where indeed Christian faith and money are internally connected? And I had this advantage of having these mafia bosses in my confession box. And we started not just giving them absolution, but I also tried to work out a system whereby we would both win. they would give me a list of people who were about to be shot. I would contact these people and say, listen, your days are over. You will be gone soon, very soon. Now you have two options. One option is you will be gunned down sometime, you don't know where, in a restaurant in front of your children. You might be gunned down somewhere in a street corner. They might break into your home. The other option is we come to an agreement. We will facilitate to you a sweet exodus. We will provide you with poison which allows you to kill yourself, but you will have time to settle your affairs. You will be able to say goodbye to your family, goodbye to your mother. That's all very important in Italy. And be brave rather than being a victim somewhere where you are in an unknown situation. Take your own steps in hand. And ladies and gentlemen, it had enormous success. The need of employing sicarios in Palermo basically went down to zero because there was no need to gun anybody down. And I had made a deal with the mafia, said, listen, we do it for 36% of your actual cost. They wanted to offer me a third, and I said, no, I'm not going to go for a third. 36%, that's a third and a little bit extra. And I contacted with our nun habits in around the Casa de Pietà, and they said, we can produce little chocolates, beautiful, tasty chocolates, 97% of cacao contents. And we just insert a little bit of poison and people just swallow that and that's it. No questions asked. People die in their bed and that's it. So we produce these chocolates. People accept them. And we use their exodus wherever they wanted to at a time inside a time frame of usually 2 weeks. And we got paid for the mafia. What did we do with the money, we'll ask? Yes, that is a very good question. Well, there was a lot of women and mothers and children who were left by themselves because their husbands had been killed, because they didn't pay back their debt to the mafia. So we used that money. This is where my secret devotion and vocation comes from, helping others, because that is part of theology. This is being part of a priest, being a priest. So I used that money to support these families because they had lost their drug dealing breadwinners. Isn't that a good idea? Isn't that what we all want to do? Make ends meet, make sure that everybody is a winner. I believe we have to be innovative in our ways of looking at perhaps even death. Maybe allowing people to choose the date when they will die, rather than obliging them to die when you want them to die. You might even offer those options to your prisoners you have in your US jails. It might work out. They might even be able, or wanting to pay for some chocolates with slightly bitter contents. Thank you.
Wow, what an interesting speech that was, Vincent. You had me riveted. I couldn't wait to hear what was going to happen. And I think it's a wonderful solution. But I think killing yourself is a sin. Oh, well. Timer. Please time 90 seconds so that everyone could give their evaluation of Vincent's speech in the chat.
Time starts now. And the 90 seconds is complete.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesper. Fellow Toastmasters, our second speaker is Shante Howard. And Ray Sweeney is the evaluator of her speech. I call Ray to read the objectives of Shantae's speech.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Our speaker this evening is not only double busy, but she is triple busy. So guys, you better pay attention and have your ears wide open. The objectives come from level 4, inspiring your audience. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. The title is I See You, and who better to introduce herself than Shantae? Over to you, Shantae.
A coworker and friend of mine recently accepted a job opportunity that would change his life. He will now be the first minority man to lead a global organization. When he first told me about the opportunity, I was ecstatic. I knew how hard he had worked, and I knew he deserved every bit of the amazingness that would follow. However, I could not help but to notice the look of fear on his face, which I simply brushed off as new opportunity jitters. A week later, my friend is giving his acceptance speech, and he mentions how nervous he was about stepping into this new role. That as a young boy from India moving to the States, he was often dismissed and stereotyped. But he stayed true to who he was, and in this moment, he felt seen. Now, this pulled at my heartstrings because in that moment, I understood. Mr. Toastmaster, guests, and friends, how many of you have ever walked into a room and felt invisible?
Mm.
Like everyone in that room could see right through you. Maybe you walked into a room of a new company where you felt underqualified. Maybe you walked into a room where nobody looked like you. Or maybe you walked into a room and you knew in that moment, your life would change forever. For me, I first walked into that room when I was a young Black girl in Boston, Massachusetts. You see, in the early 80s, at the tender age of 7, I lived in a disadvantaged community. My mother wanted to make sure that I had the best opportunities, so she put me into a program to learn with my peers in the suburbs. I was bused an hour and a half to and from home each day to go to school. I was the first Black student to integrate my class in an all-white town in Massachusetts. Now, whether or not you are familiar with the Boston race riots, you can probably imagine the pushback I received as the first in this town. Now, unbeknownst to my 7-year-old self, I was entering a space where I would lose myself and become invisible. The parents of my soon-to-be classmates advised them to ignore me and act like I didn't exist. And they obeyed their parents. So no matter how hard I tried or how big I smiled, no one would speak to me. I could not make connection. I was invisible. From the students to the teachers, I was not wanted there, and they were letting me know it. Now, despite the seclusion and occasional violence, I managed to push through and authentically be me, but unseen and a little broken. The next time I would walk into a room would be at the tender age of 36. This room was in Los Angeles, California. I walked into that room with joy and anticipation, but I would soon feel invisible again. Lost in a sea of dreamers, and I did not know how to swim. I would soon find myself But instead of the childhood pranks that I had experienced before, this time I was met with blatant disregard for my leadership. I was beginning to feel almost invisible again. But this time, I fought to be seen. But not just for me, but for others. When the employees were mistreated, I spoke up. I now have the power to create systems within my organization to help everyone thrive. I was loved by some and despised by others. But I overcame my challenges of being invisible by attacking it head on and helping others along the way. Yes, there was therapy, education, and other tools used in my journey. But my change came when I made the adjustment within and chose to do what was most authentic to me. So when I walked through that next door, well, it was the door to my own organization, my own tribe, and my own and some new amazing opportunities. And guess what? I hold the key. And I am seen. Muriel, I see you. Jack, I see you. John, I see you. Masters of Evaluation, I see you. So the next time you walk into a room and you feel invisible, take a deep breath and be authentic to who you are, because you are seen. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shantae. I know that we can all connect with your story to become visible to other people. Mr. Timer, could you please time 90 seconds for everyone to send their evaluations in the chat to Shantae?
90 seconds starting now. And the 90 seconds is complete.
Thank you, Timer. Our third speaker is Victoria Trabash. And Elisa Schneider is going to be a very special guest evaluator of her speech. I call Elisa to read the objectives of Victoria's speech.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you for pronouncing my name correctly, because you're one of the first people in the history of the world. Congratulations. Yes, and today I'm pleased to present our third speaker for this morning, who is going to be Victoria Trabash. She is presenting from Dynamic Leadership Level 3, and the project is Create Effective Visual Aids, which she'll then present as part of her speech. It's not 5 to 7 minutes, it's actually 8 to 10 minutes. So Timer, if you can make the necessary adjustments, and it's going to be outstanding. So having said that, Victoria Trabash, using the MoE website, Victoria Trabash.
We can't hear you. You're muted, Victoria.
Those are going to be my husband's famous last words. She's finally muted. Thank you so much, Elisa. I am thrilled to talk about our website today, because I want you to think about the first time. Do you remember the first time you ever looked at a website? Fun fact, the first website was August 6th, 1991. And it was titled CERN, C-E-R-N, Computer European Organization for Nuclear Research. That was the first website. Would you like to see it? Let me show it to you. Can you all see my screen? This was the first website. This was what it looked like. It was a set of links, and it described the World Wide Web that Vice President Gore invented, as we say in the United States. The World Wide Web is a worldwide hypermedia information retrieval initiative aiming to give universal access to a large universe of documents. Sentence is too long, can't even say it without taking a breath. But that's where websites started. Today, there are millions of websites. And while we can get mired in the details of websites, let me ask you, what is your connection to Masters of Evaluation website? Now, this is the website we use to track our agendas, to keep track of members, to send out messages. And I'm very interested in having you use it more. So I want to go over a few ideas of why our website is important. First, the Masters of Evaluation website is easy to use. Toast, which is the site that hosts all the websites on this side of the pond for Toastmasters, is user-friendly and requires no web technology experience. It's customizable. It allows our club to customize the platform, change the agenda like I did today, add explanations, add images, branding, and there are integrated features. For instance, and I don't want to do this too often to you all, but I will send out the agenda directly from the website to keep you all updated if you're a member of the club. It's a little more difficult if you're a guest. We have to send it separately. But these integrated features allow online payment processing, which we have not used, member directories, and we can streamline the business of Masters of Evaluation. Also, it's cost effective. In the research I did, it said it cost just a few dollars. I haven't paid a bill yet, so I think it's a free one. But nonetheless, it's cost effective. And then there's the technical support. Technical support means if I can't figure something out, I can contact Toastmasters International, which has hosted this, and get solutions. Now, overall, Toast Host through this website is a popular choice for clubs. Not every club uses it. Some clubs use Excel spreadsheets. Some clubs use their own website. But we have decided to use Toast Host Masters of Evaluation. And what I want to do today, I was going to call this speech, I Am Not Your Mother. So when people say, would you put me in for Toastmaster? The answer is no, I won't. I would like you to put you in for Toastmaster. I'm tough. I'm really tough. But I want to show you how easy it is for you to use our website. So let me go to a page. Can you see google.com on this page? So all you do is type in mastersofevaluation.org. And it goes to our Toastmasters Club. This is what the website looks like. It shows our club number if you ever need it, that we're online, District 1, Area C1, our time zone. This is really important. People are always asking what our time zone is. And it's Pacific Daylight Time. We switch between daylight and standard time, and it's UTC -7. So that's international time. So that's how you find out what your time frame is. And then you can subscribe to the meeting right here if you're interested. And here is a link to join this meeting for guests. You just go to this link or not, cut and paste it into your browser, and you get the link to, I think, Elisa, you got the link to sign in as a guest. You can also, if you have access to our regular meeting, you can look at it there. Now, I can log in as a member or an administrator. I'm going to launch the admin console. That is for certain. I've already launched it. Let me close it. Let me log out as site administrator and let me log in. agree to the policy. Now you put your club number in and my super secret password here. And then I can log in to our website. Now I have access to everything over here, members only. These are all the things you have access to. I have access to those as well. For instance, I can pull up the agenda and it shows today's agenda. The one you may print out may not have all these descriptions, but I have now put in the descriptions of every role so that people can understand what they are agreeing to do. We try to make at Masters of Evaluation the club accessible to all so that you feel, what is my role as timer? And for instance, I put the timing of the meeting is critical to honor all participants' involvement and adhere to the schedule. Use of electronic backgrounds or lights or handheld color changes of green, yellow, red is used. Timer should confirm timing rules for all speeches and closely adhere to the agenda to keep meeting on time. Jasper did a great job on that. We can also fill in guests. I had, when Elisa offered to be my evaluator, I couldn't put her in as a member, but I could say guest Elisa Schneider right here and her Toastmaster designation. So this agenda can work for us. Now, speakers, it is your responsibility to fill in the name of your speech and pick a path. So what happens is, let's say you were doing intro to vocal variety. You can then, your evaluator can then download the form. Really makes it handy. Am I back to the regular agenda on your screen? Okay, you're looking at the regular agenda?
Yes.
So what I want you to do is to go into the meeting. Our next meeting is May 19th. And you go in and you start filling out roles. You log in as a member, and I'll show you how to log in as a member. I'm going to log out as site administrator. You log in as a member. Now, if you do not remember the login that you had, please make a note. Type in your email that you used for the club. Take a couple guesses if you're not sure. Leave the password blank. If this is your first time logging in, or if you forgot your password, just select your name and click authenticate here. You will get a link to reset your password. Easy to do. So let me log in as a member. And I want to show you some of the, okay, that's great. I want to show you some of the features you have. Now, if I had time, I would need to authenticate and reset my password, but let me log in as site administrator again, because to show you these features, I can do it right from here. Meeting agendas, quick sign up role. I actually need to be on as a member. Well, that's Elisa, make a note that you make sure the website's working. Quick role sign up, you click on that. I recommend you go through this website and take a look at it. See how it works, play around with it. You can't mess it up. And if you can't mess it up, you can only learn from it. You can also write down here, Facebook page. These are our social media links, our YouTube channel, and this takes you right to the Zoom meeting. For everyone that asks, what's our Zoom link? Right there on the website, you can see it. This website is fantastic. And because I can be the administrator, I can see who logs in and when. So no big brother, but what are you going to do? So in closing, let me just say this website works. This website is important to the health of our club. And I'm hoping that as MoE goes forward, that we have big plans to grow this club, and we need you to support it. Support it through the use of using our Masters of Evaluation website, and we will grow in our strength and power. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I've learned so much from your speech. I can't believe that 8 minutes went by that quickly.
Yeah, well, it went by 11.
But it was great. And thank you for helping us connect with the website and learning about it. Timer, please time 90 seconds so that you all can send your evaluations to Vicky in the chat.
90 seconds starting now. 90 seconds is complete.
Thank you, Timer. That concludes our prepared speech portion. And I would now like to call on John White to address the table topics session. John?
Thank you very much, our Toastmaster of the day. Great to have you here, Jack. The club's going to be much better with your addition. So, I'm doing the math. Looks like we have time for about 5 or 6 table topics. It could mean that we go into speaking and evaluators. So I must ask the guest, Elisa, are you willing to double down should we come to that point in the meeting?
Not a problem. I'd be delighted.
Wonderful. You know all the deals, what table topics is. It's impromptu speaking. Mr. Timer, quick timing rules for table topics?
Yes. 1 to 2 minutes. Again, 1 minute will get the green background, 1.5 will get the yellow, and 2 minutes will get the red, with 30 seconds to complete any closing remarks.
Wonderful. Vicky, you're great at multitasking. If you could be the timer for Jesper. Jesper, I'm saying unmute yourself, please. Here we go. Question number 1, Jesper. And these are just issues that I'm pondering with, and rather than solving myself, I'm going to ask more brilliant minds. Jesper, can shyness be cured, or should it be cured? Extroverts be damned. Your thoughts on that?
Table topics, Master John, thank you for the question. Shyness is not really a disease. I can't imagine that. I just think that people haven't really spent enough time with other people. But at the same time, for some introverts, they just like to stay in their own space. They perhaps like to lock themselves in their room, maybe read a book, watch TV, do things on their own. But that's not necessarily a problem. Some people just have hobbies that are different from others. For extroverts, on the other hand, they probably like to go to a loud football game. They probably like to go to the movies where the volume is just beyond belief. They also probably like to go to sporting events with loud stadiums and large crowds. And that's not any different. People just have their personal preferences. So I think as far as shyness, it's not necessarily a problem. People just do things differently. Shy people have their own hobbies where they're probably locked out in their own kind of world, and extroverts probably out in the world doing their own thing as well. We're all just different, but there's no problem on either side. But that is an excellent question. Thank you, Table Topics Master John.
Thank you. Vicky and I are showing our approval. I'm an extrovert, but I'm connecting with my inner shyness. Thank you for that response. We move on to the next one. Muriel, please unmic yourself. Are you camera ready? Muriel Shabazz?
Only from the top up.
That was a little too much for me. Here we go. Muriel, you're a social butterfly. You know so many people and so many clubs. My contention is that you can have too many friends. Muriel, what is the optimal amount of friends one should have?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our wonderful guests. What is the optimal number of friends? I think it's infinite. I think because if we allow ourselves to just explore who we are fully, then there are so many different people, John, that can be part of who we are. I don't think that, I go through life. My daughter's always getting on me. Mommy, do you know that person? You've been talking to them for 10 minutes. I never meet a stranger, John. And it's because when I leave my house or when I'm thinking about life, I'm thinking that there are things that I desire and that someone out in the world has the answer for me. So if I limit myself to just a certain number of people, then I'm going to limit how I experience the fullness of what I call this journey called life. So to answer your question, is there an optimal number? No, I'm not going to limit myself. I'm going to explore, experience, expand, and just be open and available to as many people as possible. And I love traveling and meeting all different kinds of people. They enrich me. They uplift me many times when I'm not feeling so great about myself. So I think optimally, there is no optimum number of people that we can have as friends. Thank you for that question.
Did you say I never meet a stranger?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was rich. That was beautiful. David Ryan. Is too much empathy a bad thing? Are we too soft, David? Do we need to toughen up here?
You can never have enough empathy. You can never have too much empathy. You can have enough, maybe not too much. Empathy is about connecting with people. It's all about connection. It's about feeling common emotions. And what is there to life other than having those shared emotions and making those connections with people? You can't have too much. What would that look like? I mean, I can't even imagine what could possibly be the negative of having too much empathy. I think it's a ridiculous question, Mr. Table Topics Master. I think I think, what do I think? I think I'm waiting for Jesper to flip the switch here. It started with such enthusiasm and emotion, I kind of lost the track of things here. No, there's no such thing as too much empathy. We can all do with improving our level of connection with our fellow humans or fellow Toastmasters. And I can't see a world in which we top out and that becomes a negative. So thank you, Mr. Tabletop.
Excellent recovery. I should let you know that these questions do not reflect the personal view or perspective of the Table Topic Master. They are intended to provoke. Elisa, you ready?
Let's do it.
You're from Texas, right?
All over.
Okay, well, I'm going to say you're from Texas for the purpose of this question. So you're tough. I want to know, and as you know about me, I'm a little sensitive. Tell me a few ways I can develop the consistency and grit that I've heard spoken about you. Consistency and grit.
You can start by sleeping outdoors every night and hearing the coyotes howl and wondering if you're going to lay your sleeping bag down on a scorpion. Because we have all of that here in Texas, and you don't know at what moment in your life. It could be your last moment. It could be your last night. If you would like to develop a little bit of grit and toughness, just try the great outdoors. It's fantastic for getting your adrenaline going and feeling a rush in life. Who needs to jump out of airplanes? We've got scorpions. And they're not just outside. They could get into your house. You could find them crawling up your wall, maybe under your pillowcase. Maybe that's another way to go, in a simple way, not as chocolatey, but definitely a way to go. Now, oftentimes in life, we have to develop grit and toughness because we're faced with circumstances that are out of our control. And there was a time where I actually was sleeping outside because I had rented a house and I was reacting to the indoors. I couldn't change the terms. And so for a few days, I did sleep outside to get by. And sometimes life requires that we face those tough circumstances and we either have to get stronger or we become overcome by the challenge. And so as we look through life, as we look through history, we see that the people who overcome, the people who shine at the end, the people who make it are the ones that develop the grit and toughness because they find a way to get through. And it's always about telling ourselves there is a way, there's always a way, and let me find that way. So whether you have to go outside and sleep with the scorpions and hear the coyotes, or whether you have to face that personal challenge in your life, just always remember there is a way. And with a little bit of grit and toughness, I'm going to make it all the way. Thank you.
Wow. Well done. I think there's time for one more question. I'm tempted to revisit Mr. Nare because his speech just, I don't know where to start, but I don't want to preempt the evaluator. So, Sandra, I think I will speak or ask you a question. Is social media good or bad for society? Feel free to use cuss words if you like.
Oh, I've got a few select ones for it. But in general, social media is not the problem. It's our opinions. And whether we weigh what someone says for its honesty, validity, purpose, and we have to be more discerning. That type of information, whether it be on social media or on TikTok or on the radio or television, and going back to cave days, has always been there. The misinformation has always been there. But I look for the good stuff. I look for all the sprinkles that make my day happy. And I do check for those scorpions, Alyssa. I want to make sure I'm not getting into an area where it's bad. You have to make choices. When you view social media, you are choosing both good and bad, and it's up to you to decide which is which and how to use that information for either your education, entertainment, or if it's going to persuade you in a negative way, turn the channel. Just like my dad used to say, turn the channel. Of course, we didn't have a remote control. I was the remote control. But turn the channel off if it offends you, if you don't agree with it. Don't get into a fight over social media. It goes nowhere. It's like fighting your shadow. It doesn't accomplish anything. So be discerning, turn the channel, be more empathetic, look within yourself for the truth, and appreciate the people that bring it to you. Thank you.
Man, I am glad I showed up today. I'm taking some great stuff. The good stuff, the sprinklings, and yes, there can be a scorpion or two. I think that's it. That's the time we have. Mr. Timer, did everyone qualify? While you're pondering that, I guess I should ask the question of Vicky, Sandra, and Dave, and others. Are we still voting? I see the agenda doesn't have many voting sections, but there's perhaps a remnant here of people voting for best table topics. Are we?
No, we've gone to junior soccer where everybody's a winner.
Wonderful. And I agree that. And truthfully, they were wonderful responses. I did write notes and I will reflect on that later on, and I'm better for it. So we now are moving on.
But excuse me, but I think you do want to know the timer because we do want to know if we hit our times.
Yes. Mr. Timer.
Would you like me to share the
I
specific
see
times?
you is what I'm hearing, what I'm saying. But let's hear from you as well, please.
Would you like me to share the specific times?
I would. Thank you for reminding me of my job.
All right. For me, I have reached 1 minute, 14 seconds. For Muriel, I have 1 minute and 31 seconds. For David, I have 1 minute and 37 seconds. For Elisa, I have 1 minute and 59 seconds. And for Sandra, I have 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Very good. Very
Wonderful. A growing trend the last week or two. I don't know if you noticed, a minute of table topics is taking longer. It's inflation. It takes about like an hour, a minute, 15 seconds. Is it just me? It's been the longest minute with seasoned people. Anyway, I now turn it back to our general evaluator, Sandra.
good.
All right. Now we are going to review our meeting so far, see how we've done and where we can make some improvements if there are any to be made. I want to remind each evaluator that today, at the end of your evaluation, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I hope you wrote down the answer to: when did the speaker grab your attention? How did they make a connection with you? And did you keep that connection did the speaker keep their connection with you? So our first, this is really an awkward situation, having a husband and wife evaluate a speech. But Karina, I know you're up to it. So would you please, and timer, would you remind us of the timing allotment for evaluations?
Yes, for evaluations, 2 to 3 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, you will see the green background. 2.5 minutes, you will see the yellow background, and at 3, you will see the red background with 30 seconds to complete any closing remarks.
All right.
Let's see.
Thank you. So Karina, please give us your evaluation of Vincent's speech.
Let me.
Good afternoon or good morning to you. I always evaluate
Porter.
Vincent's speech when
May
he
learning how to do the evaluator and the speaker together. Vicky, could you take over this part, because I'm not quite sure how to put Vincent and his beautiful wife together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What I say, I normally evaluate Vincent's speech when I hear his speech, and I am normally very strong. Today I will be not so hard. Well, I hope. I think he has a great imagination. He always thinks things that you never would thought about, and today use his imagination to produce a speech. He used a descriptive language. He was moving us through Palermo and the city, describing different points. And when he was driving his motorcycle and see dead bodies on her way to work, I think he connected with us. But at least I was surprised, because I know he is not living in Palermo or working, but well, I know his imagination was flowing. He used, well, I like very much that he used, I think you say triadas, is in front of the family, in front of the children, in front of me. And this gives you these repeating sentences that makes the speech quite attentive. What I suggest to him is to do more pauses. He doesn't speak very quickly, but I think sometimes if you pause, you let your audience time to think about what you were saying. And with your imagination, we need some pauses. And as well, I think you have to use more humor. Was your participation humors. And something more, it was funny all, but some clicks of humor could be nice. I'm not a good humorist anyway, but you are, and you know, so you are a good humorist. Other thing that you didn't tell us, what religion allows suicide. I don't know if anyone allows suicide, but as a priest or theologist, you must know which ones are permit suicide in their religion. And as a summary, continue using descriptive language because you use it very well. Use more humor and more pauses, and be so imaginative. Thank you very much.
One question to you is, what specific part, before we get to Ray, Karina, what specific part did all of a sudden your head snap up and you started listening?
So, sorry?
When
Can you
you
repeat?
started to listen to Vincent's speech, at what point did it engage your attention?
When he was describing his driving in Palermo with all these fountains and the roads, that's engaged me because I didn't know.
A visual picture.
A visual picture, yes.
Okay, good. I want us to learn from each other as to the things that we can use in our speeches to get our audience's attention. So make note as an evaluator and share that with us so that we can learn from your experience and your observation. Now I'd like to turn to Ray Sweeney to give us an evaluation of Shantae's speech. Ray.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator, General Evaluator. Shantae, I see you. Are we ecstatic? Did Shantae grab our attention? The answer is yes. She used a rhetorical question to begin her speech, which brings us in. It connects everyone. It gives us the opportunity to ponder and think. Shantae, I'm going to tell you what I loved and liked about your speech, summarize it, give you a few takeaways, and we'll see how we go from there. For me, what I loved about it tonight was it was really a little mini icebreaker because we learned so much about you, the value of the story of a 7-year-old in Massachusetts on a bus. You highlighted the first Black child in town, the seclusion, the violence, the important things that you highlighted in your speech. But then along came 36-year-old bouncing along full of joy and anticipation. We know that's the speaker that you are, being fought to be seen, and that helped us to connect to you. You used some positive, empowering words, therapy, education. You peppered them throughout your speech. Let me give you a couple of recommendations, possibly how you can improve it. My first would be to be invisible. How does that work? Display it on screen. That visual effect has a big impact with your audience. Tonight, your timing and cadence and your rhythm, I felt was a little bit off. It didn't have that little spark that you normally have. I think there was a little bit of disconnect because possibly you could have been reflecting to notes. And so the rhythm of your voice was just slightly disconnecting as you were chopping and changing through the notes. And thirdly, I see you is so powerful. We want to hear that at the beginning of the speech because you're going to bring it full circle at the end, which you did. But we want to hear it from the start. I see you. In conclusion, you gave us a metaphor. You're a very strong swimmer. We know you have the power to overcome and thrive. And as world champions of public speaking said, quoted by Mark Brown and Darren LaCroix, said, if there is no emotional shift in a story or the character, there is no story. If there is no emotional shift in the character, there is no story. What we got from you was an emotional shift that was obvious on your journey. Thank you, Shantae. I hear you, I feel you, and I see you. Back to you.
And Ray, if you could just elaborate one more thing, and that is, did she hold your connection for the entirety of her speech? I know you pointed out that the technique of being visual could have been actually, I think, a great way to start the speech and would have grabbed us. But how did she make a connection to you personally?
Yeah, good question. And my answer to that was, in the beginning, it could have been a stronger connection. I needed more instant rapport at the very beginning, and that could have been improved by an impactful start. I picked it up on the story. That's what I loved about it, the icebreaker, where I was getting the background about Shantae, because I don't know her background, and people on the screen don't know it either. So for me, the one area was the beginning, open with impact.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ray. And finally, for Victoria's speech, we have our guest here, Alyssa. And I think this is awesome to have our most experienced speaker being evaluated by a guest who doesn't know anything about Vicky. And so she's getting a complete, fresh set of eyes on her speech, the way she talks, and how she delivers a message. So Alyssa, please take it away.
The power of humor is that it jumps our conscious and takes us directly into the subconscious. And Victoria, you used humor right at the start to get your point across that this is what websites used to look like, and you showed us a cluttered page. And you read us a long, cumbersome sentence. So right away, we connected because, we all remember what websites were and how crazy that they looked like that. And then you contrasted between the before and after. So you gained our attention with humor, and you got us on your team. Now we're interested, now we're engaged, now we're listening to what comes next. You also had powerful visual aids, which oftentimes people use to distract from their message accidentally. But for you, they empowered your message because they were simple, they were bullet points, easy to follow, and they were building on what you were already describing. So you had an excellent use of those visual aids for us to see and follow along with you. In terms of a few recommendations to connect even further and drill that message down that, hey, this is why we need the website, consider using you-focused language. Because Patricia Fripp, she's a famous speech coach, she says that the audience doesn't care what the speaker wants. The audience wants to know what's in it for us. So for example, at the beginning of your speech, you said, I am thrilled to talk to you about our website. Now, how can you take that and make that in our perspective for us, the audience? Perhaps jump in directly to your second sentence, which then you asked us, do you remember a time when websites looked like this? What that's going to do, it's going to create a connection, a powerful opening, because right away we'll be like, bam, yes, we do. So you'll have our attention immediately from the start. Also, you used other phrases like, I'm very interested in having you use it more, or what I want you to do. And if you want us to get to that buy-in where we connect with your idea, consider, rather than saying what you want us to do, tell us why that's going to be helpful for us. Well, you might find it useful because it will simplify your process of signing up for roles, or it might facilitate, or it might help you, or it might make it easier. And then we'll want to look at the website because now we realize how that's going to be helpful for us, and you'll get a greater buy-in. And finally, there was a slight misconnection for me between the way websites started and how they are now. Just understanding why that was important to show us at the beginning. So perhaps just a tie-in phrase. This is what websites used to look like. You can see how hard they are to use, but now they're simple and easy to follow. And it's going to be easy for you. Again, you focused. In summary, you used amazing humor right at the start to grab our attention, get us engaged, and those powerful visual aids allowed us to tie in with your message so that we followed you start to finish. And we knew exactly what you were explaining, and you showed us how simple it is for the website. For recommendations, consider that you-focused language to get us to buy in and grab us from the beginning, and then building on that connection so we understand the contrast and where we got to where we are. You are amazing. You did powerful humor, and I was with you all the way. Thanks.
Okay, so I would normally ask you a few questions, but you were so proactive and you already answered them. She got our attention. This is how. She kept a connection with you and you gave her some suggestions. Excellent job on your evaluation, Alyssa. I hope that we all gained something from our evaluators today. But we have one more evaluator to go, and that is Mr. David Ryan. David, you are going to be evaluating our table topics. How did we do today?
So, fellow table topic speakers. Today we had 5 table topics: Jesper, Muriel, myself, Alyssa, and Sandra. And what I'm going to focus on is how our speakers grabbed attention, how they connected with me, and then how they kept our attention throughout, and some concluding points. So some examples I'd like to call out on grabbing attention. Elisa had that you could try sleeping outside. So straight away, it was a provoking thought, and it was like, yeah, I'm there. I can visualize it. I can see it. And she spoke about scorpions and coyotes. So straight away, she grabbed my attention. Jesper, it's not a disease. Straight away, had my attention. In contrast, there was a few that could be improved slightly. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, etc., were wasting energy by introducing with this extra sentence. Connection with me. When Jesper mentioned the description of introvert activities and extrovert activities, he offered something for everyone in his description. So I think we could identify whichever side of the coin we're on. I loved when Muriel said she's not a stranger and someone has the answer. Moving to the keeping attention. Sandra had tied back very clearly examples through her speech to previous topics answers and previous speeches. So she mentioned empathy, she mentioned scorpions, so she tied it back through. So great way of kind of keeping our attention and tying it back through. And similarly, Elisa mentioned the death by scorpion versus death by chocolate. Not quite so sweet, right? Occasionally, our topic speakers lost my attention when they started to circle back, and guilty, circle back on their points and reiterate. At some point, perhaps it's better just to call it quits and wrap up nicely and move on, rather than retreading old ground. In conclusion, strong introduction that grabs our attention is critical. Don't waste time on the fluff. Get straight in there with a controversial statement that really grabs our attention, or gives us some imagery that we can identify with. Offer something for everyone if you can, in terms of the connection, like Jesper did. And yeah, keep going. If you feel like you've run out of ground, just wrap up and make your closing point and finish it. So, thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. As you know, getting someone's attention and making a connection with them as soon as possible is so important, as David just mentioned. Let's get rid of, oh, that was a great speech. And in general, I think we did that. We need to help each other out. I apologize. I tried to help you out by counting how many ahs and ums and use of the word of the day, but with a broken wing, it was really, why did I volunteer? But I do want to point out a couple good words I heard today, and they were from Vicky. Mired. What a wonderful visceral word that can be used. Then you also used, I'm not your mother. Every time I think of Masters of Evaluation website, I'm going to think of I'm not your mother from now on. Your only clutch word was so, Vicky. A lot of people use the word connection. It's an easy word to use because we all want to feel connected. And Shantae's speech actually addressed that very well. In general, everybody had very clear, very, very clear, unmuddled words throughout the meeting, except for me right now. So we must be running over time. So I want to zip it up as quick as I can. And do we have any timers reports, Jasper, that we haven't received so far?
Yes. Would you like me to share the times for the prepared speeches and the evaluations?
Please do.
I'll start with the prepared evaluations. I have Vincent for 7 minutes and 6 seconds. I have Shantae for 6 minutes and 31 seconds. And Vicky was allowed more time. I have her for 10 minutes and 44 seconds. For the evaluations, I have Karina for 3 minutes and 18 seconds. I have Ray for 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Alyssa for 3 minutes, 19 seconds, and David for 3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Thank you very much. And before I turn the meeting over back to our president, I have a request of you. If you feel that there is something we can do to make our evaluations better, email me or just send me a note through Facebook. I think everybody knows how to get a hold of me or any of the club officers. We want to continue to improve our evaluations so that we become the gold standard. People can come to us, get the feedback, go on like Ray into the competitions, go up and become winners. And I want to thank our guest today, especially for coming today. And I love the reference to Patricia Fripp. Her information is easy to hear and hard to implement, but worth the trip for Fripp. So I'll turn it back over to David. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Before we close up today, just a couple of items. I'd love to get Alyssa's feedback on our meeting and your thoughts on what we did well, what could we do better, to Sandra's point. So maybe we'll start there, and then a couple of other items after.
It was fantastic to be able to join you this morning. And what I loved is just how you can tell that you are an advanced club, and everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do, and the level of presentation and the level of feedback is at another level from what you'd normally see in a regular club. So congratulations to everyone. It's nice because the more advanced you are, then the more there is to take away from any given meeting, and then we all learn from each other. And Ray, I loved how you mentioned Darren LaCroix and Mark Brown. That was a fantastic quote. In terms of recommendations, I think this isn't really it's not really an improvement. It's just my personal preference is that I prefer to see the gallery speakers because it simulates what it's like to be in person. So when everybody gets spotlighted every time, I have to keep switching it back. But I also know that you do that because you're recording. So it's a tricky give and take there. But I thought you guys were an amazing group. And someone asked if I wanted to visit again. I said, of course. What's not to love about your club? I'd love to come back again and hear your stories. I heard some powerful, powerful stories today. Shantae and even Victoria was sharing some information and cheering for you guys. You're amazing.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much, Lisa. We do hope to see you back again. Look forward to your contribution. Personally got a lot from your learned from your evaluation, also from your table topics answer. So thank you.